Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. Welcome to the Planning Board meeting of June 26, 2024. First on the agenda is Viola. Mike, I don't believe you had any comments?
I do not.
And Rich?
No, this is on to a resolution tonight.
And Pat?
And you have the resolution. We adopted the negative declaration on this previously. You saw yesterday that we made an amendment to the resolution, a couple of resolutions actually, but this one in particular. Bob picked up an issue that we didn't include about trash removal. So you have that before you.
Okay, I think the board remembers we went through this a couple of weeks ago. If there's no other firm comments from the board, we need a motion to adopt the final site plan.
We're going to close the public hearing.
You did.
Oh, we did? Oh, I apologize.
I'll make a motion for the, I'll move the resolution of the Planning Board of the Town of Carmel, number 24-14, June 26, 2024, tax map number 75.20-2-68, Veolia Water, Mahopac Wells, final site plan approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Nice
you.
job 2 weeks ago. Thank you.
Lovely. Just one question. Can I pick up the resolution now for Veolia to sign and send back to Rose, or should we coordinate that later? Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is Evans Septic Tank Service, 53 Old Route 6. Mike
I do not have any comments.
and Rich.
Saying this is on for resolution.
And for this, Mr. Chairman, you have two resolutions, the negative declaration and the site plan approval.
I believe everybody remembers we reviewed this 2 weeks ago. I personally think they did a great job on this. This was a nice piece of work,
Appreciate it, thank you.
especially on that old Route 6 there. If no other comments from the town board, we need a few motions.
I'll offer the resolution of the Planning Board of the Town of Carmel, number 24-15, June 26, 2024, tax map 55.11-1-18, Evans Septic Tank Service, 53 Old Route 6, seeker determination of significance, negative declaration.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Another motion for final site plan approval.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I'll offer the resolution of the Planning Board of the Town of Carmel, number 24-16, dated June 26, 2024, tax map 55.11-1-18, Evans Septic Tank Service, 53 Old Route 6, final site plan approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Nice job on this project.
That was a good job on that.
Really nice.
So Joe, we've been moving at a pretty good pace, we've been moving at a pretty good pace, just to, Next on the agenda, Putnam County Housing, 102 Glenita Avenue. Mike?
Yeah, this was formerly the DPL Realty. They had second and third floor units. Now it's only going to be second floor units, but still the same number of units. I have no objection. All the variances were granted. They did add an exit stair to the left side of the building facing from the road, and that's not shown on the site plan right now. So Joel has to put that on there. It looks like it.
Actually, it's on there now.
All right, it wasn't on the one we reviewed.
No, I know, unfortunately, we gave you the wrong ones, but it's on the site plan.
Okay. It looks like it probably complies, but I'd like to make sure that it's on the site plan so we can verify that. Otherwise, I have no significant changes and no objection to approval this way once that's clarified.
Thank you, Mike. And Rich?
So Mike mentioned that it was to do the 4 residential units, moving everything to 2 floors versus 3. Applicant states there are no site changes other than those approved by the planning board will take place. Applicant will need to confirm all previously approved bonds are in place. Otherwise, I have no additional comments.
Thank you, Rich. And Pat?
There are no site plan issues, Mr. Chairman, so no issues at all.
So why the change? What,
Okay, the change was due to the fact that the Putnam County Housing Corporation purchased the building and the site, obviously. And the only difference, as all the consultants said, was that obviously the name has been changed. And also, as Rich mentioned, the previous owner had put up the bond, and now it has to be switched from whoever put up the bond to the Putnam County Housing Corporation. But basically, the site is not going to change except for that one second means of egress from the apartments, which is required by code. But aside from that, every inch of the site plan will be constructed as shown and approved by you. So there's basically no change. And the only big change, as Mike mentioned also, is that the previous owner had apartments in the attic, which we didn't feel was the right thing to do, so we eliminated that.
so what's to prohibit apartments from going back into the attic 3 years from now?
Have to come back to this board?
Would be disapproval. They would have to come.
That'd be a violation of site plan.
Come back.
They would have to come back in front of the board, get variances and site plan approval.
But I can assure you, as long as we own it, there will be no apartments in the attic.
Joe, was the attic gutted? Is it just one open space now?
Yes, yes.
Any other questions from the board? As Pat mentioned, there's really no site changes. We've gone through this numerous times.
Yeah, it's really just the stairs.
Yeah. Someone make a motion to schedule a public hearing, please.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to schedule a public hearing.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye. Okay,
Thank
if
you,
you
Joe.
have the resolution too, I'd appreciate that.
We got a resolution prepared, ready for that night,
Okay,
just as long as everything goes well.
no problem. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
And have a great fourth.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
And have a fifth too, while you're at it.
Have a good night. Don't forget your drawings, Joe. Next on the agenda is Greenpoint Tree Service, 61 and 65 Old Route 6, site plan. Mike, I believe you had some comments.
Yes, Paul defined heavy commercial use. It is what would be permitted in that zone. It is the Commerce Business Park Zone. Provide landscape buffer. The loading space is in front of the building. It should be moved or shielded from view. That one spot that you put right there, just put some arborvitae or something there to dress it up a little. It's not an ideal place, but they don't really have anywhere else to put it because of the shape and size of the building, I guess.
Paul, take the microphone.
Right in front of the building. Yeah, that's the loading space, right? Right here. Yes. So if we,
You're gonna need the microphone.
Sorry about that.
Rich, I believe you have some comments.
So the applicant is just, when they sent their cover letter in, they were just basically confirming that the board was gonna be okay with the site as it is now. They haven't addressed any of the comments. They stated that in their cover letter. So my comments are the same ones as last time, and they're going with configuration 1. So I'm fine with configuration 1. It's the board's decision after that, so.
Thank you. And Pat?
So if you remember, we asked them to look at alternatives. They showed you 3 alternatives. This was one. The second one was aligning the building as configured so that it was parallel to Route 6, Old Route 6. And the other alternative, which was what we sort of wanted them to do, was putting the garage doors and the parking in the back. It's a contractor's building, and as you know, these sites can be sloppy, so typically it's been our preference to have what could be sloppy stuff in the backyard. Paul's plan that showed that, because of the rock face, demonstrated that it would be difficult to do that alternative plan. So he's come back with what is alternative 1. The element that he has changed is he's added a little bit of green space in between each rental unit, which is a thing. It's not really the issue. So the issue, if it has to be this way, it would be useful if it were screened. The problem is the site's low point is along Old Route 6, and that's where Paul has put a stormwater basin. So unfortunately, there's not any leftover space for screening. So my perspective could be, is there a way to use Coltech chambers instead of that and add screening there? Again, the issue is they promise to be clean and tidy, that's great, but what if they're not? And again, it would be individual tenants in each of those those spaces, so one contractor, and all of a sudden it's a messy site. So screen it, buffer it to the extent if it must be in the front of the building. That's kind of my position on this.
Paul, this project has been around for a while, right?
Yes.
Can you, I'm not sure if everyone's on the board was here when this project started, but can you take us through a little high-level overview of the project, please?
Yes, what the intended use is for each unit to be able to be rented out to somebody to store their equipment indoors as opposed to outdoors. And the board had concerns about, as Pat just mentioned, that people just taking stuff out and leaving equipment or, generators or whatever out in front of their unit. So we looked at our stormwater management plan, because in our case, we disturb more than 1 acre of land, so we have to provide a stormwater pollution prevention plan to meet the New York State DEC requirements. And in doing so, we have to provide for pre-treatment for the 1-year storm. So the way we looked at it was, we had already worked out the fact that trucks can get in and get out of the bay. If I introduce what we call let me get to the right plan for you. What's that? Yes, the stormwater filter planters, which are in front. They're basically a 3-foot tall structure. So basically off the ground, they're up 3 feet. And they're roughly 14 by 14. I have the ability to make them larger. So in terms of landscaping, you're gonna, and we hadn't done it yet, but we'll pick out the plantings that would fit inside this nice sized planter that are gonna grow and mature, so that you end up with 16-foot tall trees with lower shrubs underneath, so you've in essence screened the building. And by providing this, if we go back to the first sheet, that really doesn't give the ability for somebody to take things out of their unit and leave it outside, because they can't get in and out of their garage unit then. So we have the travel way through here. We have our parking on the low side. We're looking at landscaping along the street, which would be out here on the downside of our little wetland swale. We can add to that.
What's the proposed plantings for that space? Do you have it?
We were looking at coastal shadberry, eastern redbud, inkberries. So you're looking at
What's their mature heights?
probably like 15 feet, but we could pick things that get taller. So that's not a real issue, and the density can get tighter.
Who is responsible for keeping, the plantings that you can have in between each of the bays? Who's
That would be
responsible for
the property owner.
that? The property owner or the renter?
No, it would run with the property,
It
because
falls onto the
there'll be a
owner.
maintenance agreement with the town
Right.
as part of the stormwater management system.
And it would be a violation of site plan if you don't maintain them, so.
Do you have elevations or renderings that we can see?
So this is showing basically a 6-foot tree being planted at this point in time, and obviously it grows, and whatever's underneath it matures and grows up too. But basically, you would have a greenery here, landscaping.
Do the downspouts off the roof feed that? Oh, sorry.
No, good.
Do the downspouts go into that? Is that
Yes.
what? So that's part
Yeah,
of it?
the runoff from the roof is the water supply for the planter.
So if I'm understanding, the intent of the planter is to act as a deterrent for people to put things outside to store it.
Well, it's twofold. That's one. The other thing is it meets my requirement to capture and treat the 1-year rainfall runoff from the roof that would drain down into it.
And it's aesthetically.
And it's an aesthetically pleasing solution, I think, for, everything that the board's been concerned about.
So there'll be a downspout at each location?
Yes.
Is the that elevation in relation to the road, what's the difference?
Probably about 4 feet.
All right, so it's called fairly
Level,
flat.
it's fairly flat.
So if you
And
have,
that,
at the road, then if you have your 15-foot plantings, it would screen about half of the building? What's the height at the roof line?
I think I took it like, I think we drew this up 20, about 30 feet.
Those plantings along the road, would those be in the right-of-way or on your property?
They would be in the right of way.
So does DOT have approval for that, or
Well, that's a town road,
that would be a town road? Okay, so.
yes.
You'll
So we
still
would
need
be,
approval.
we would be
Yeah.
taking away growth that's already in the right of way and replacing it with,
Who would approve that, the highway department?
It'd be a license to put plantings in our right-of-way.
Yeah, because there might be concerns about sightlines or something with the driveways.
no, that wouldn't be
There
an
wouldn't be
issue.
an issue with
No.
that?
And that approval could be conditional?
It would be a
on our
condition of
approval?
you, they'd have to get that approval from the town. The one issue that I would just raise is the concern is not so much the building. We've now had a lot of experience making industrial buildings look pretty good, so I think you can get there. The issue that we've seen in the past is that the parking lots that are supposed to be for employees and whatnot, there's a pile of pipe in one, there's some mulch in another, it's the parking lot. So I'm not worried about screening the building that much, I'm worried about the parking lot being visually offensive. So if there's the ability, Paul, to put screening, as Nick indicated, in the right-of-way, in front of that stormwater basin, that's more important.
We could add, well, a simple thing would be to add a hedgerow,
A hedge would be
because that's
great.
a narrow vegetative,
I think that's actually a great idea.
a hedgerow would work, I think, in that location.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that would.
Well, although this is on Old Route 6, we put some effort into Old Route 6 in the last couple of years, and I think done a pretty good job on it. So are you gonna have 9 different tenants there, or like?
Don't know.
One takes up 3 units? Do you have any tenants signed up yet?
No, we don't. I'm sorry, my name is Thomas Lizowski. Me and my brother, we supposed to be, we're the owners of the building. And so basically regarding any plans, we can provide whatever board decide. So this is not the issue. The heights and, so we can provide whatever is necessary. Regarding the tenants, at this moment, we don't have any tenants, and we didn't line up nothing at this moment.
You're looking for like a contractor, like plumbers, electricians?
Well, we don't want a car mechanics, I'm sorry.
Right.
It's just,
So
but, it's just a plumber, electrician, something like that.
Tree
in this-
companies or?
Not, it's just
Not big enough.
not really. We are a tree
sure-
company, but we hoping by then we're gonna be done with the
I'm
with the
trying to get a
business.
feel for this, because we also have a project going down on Route 6.
Yep.
That sounds similar, a little bit of a contractor yard. Just,
Will you be occupying any of the spaces?
Most likely not.
Most likely not.
And if we do, all the whatever we're gonna put in there, everything will be indoors.
So basically what we're looking like, I don't know, are you familiar with Ed Cook?
Oh, yeah.
cook?
Yeah, that's exactly what I want. It's just, yes, like the building, what he's got, that's, I try to copy what, in a sense, like,
It was Day Road LLC. You approved it a couple of years ago. They put 2 buildings up there. Ed operates his business out of one, and he has another business in the other building. His is a very neat, nice operation. Hopefully, if they keep it like that, we'll be ecstatic.
Paul, how big is each bay? I'm just curious,
33 by 72, so there's a little over 2,200 square feet. You have the ability to double up, and in this particular elevation, we're showing, and on the site plan, we're showing the ability for someone to take 2 bays and have 4,400 square feet as opposed to the 2,200. But it can be or not be. It all depends on, what the market brings them.
Question, architecturally, where are we at? When will we get to that stage?
Once we decide option 1, step 1 starts to refine the plan, that's when we start digging.
Would you be averse to saying no auto repair in this building?
I'm sorry?
No auto repair or auto body?
I really would try to avoid mechanics. I'm not.
The reason is if you go to do that, the site plan changes. You'd have to get another site plan. So I just want, you may want to put that as a condition.
No, we don't want to do that. It's just,
And that, those restrictions could come out in the resolution as well.
So what did you not like about having the garage doors behind the building?
It did not work.
Traffic flow?
Because of the front yard setback. The front yard setback is here. And when I take this building and I push it down and put it on that front yard setback, I'm only able to get into 3 or 4 bays coming around from this direction. The rest of it, you physically can't get to and have your truck turning movements work. It just physically, mathematically did not work.
Okay. Is the board okay with alternate 1?
Yeah, I think
And
so.
just so everyone knows, this is the Evans building next door. Just so, in terms of coming across, then you slide into what will be the Evans building.
And yeah, I'm sure you've seen what they have planned. I think between you folks and what they just left, they would just compliment the nice job they did. I think we can really change that Old Route 6 a little bit.
Yes.
Be the new and improved Old Route 6.
Yes, we'll call it the new.
New
Old Route
improved.
6.
So Paul, just going back to what we were talking about before, any work in that right-of-way, if you're gonna do anything in there, these plans need to be reviewed by highway during this process.
Okay.
Not after the fact, right?
All right, so I'll get those plans.
Right, so
over.
as these move forward and progress and the board is moving forward with them, let them have the buy-in for it.
Okay, no problem.
You had the plantings that we talked about. And the
Yes.
trail that Pat talked about.
All right, we'll see you back in a couple weeks or a month, whenever you're ready to come back with this further with your plan further developed.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah. Paul, you doing Old Forge?
Yes.
That's the last thing on the agenda, but we have 3 for Centennial, so you might want to stay up. It makes sense for us to go through Old Forge now, I believe.
Thank you.
So as a subdivision, we have Old Forge Estates for cluster subdivision. Mike? So this is 8 on the agenda.
Yeah, will Road A eventually become a town road? If it is, please label it private or town road, whichever one it is, and we have to name that road also. The applicant provided zoning table for future, if they want to put an addition, a deck, a shed, a pool on their property. That was very helpful, thank you for that. Just something the board should be aware of if you like the numbers that they put on there. And we need to discuss the calculation you used for the submission. They didn't take out environmentally safe land. It turned out that after reading into the code, it says the environmental constraints map, which was thrown out in 1991. So I am incorrect. You don't have to deduce it from this or reduce it from this lot. So this one's fine. As soon as the new code comes in, there's a whole new calculation that's going to include steep slopes, wetlands, all the different constraints. But this one's fine.
Thanks, Mike. And Rich?
So as the project had received preliminary plan approval in November of 2020, and so there was a resolution 20-15. The extension expired. We've extended it a bunch of times in November of 21. They're looking to renew their preliminary plan approval. Department has no objection regarding the preliminary subdivision approval as long as the plans have remained unchanged. So now they're looking to do clusters, so that's a different type of review, but it's still the same thing. There's no problem with renewing the preliminary.
It's still a 14-unit cluster.
Yes.
Proposed, yeah.
Yeah, nothing's changed.
Right, so nothing's changed.
And Pat?
So while Mike's right, technically the environmental constraints map doesn't exist, Paul should still confirm that the environmental constraints we looked at 4 years ago haven't changed significantly. So mean, that has a bearing on the subdivision, has the, as water course, the site's constrained pretty significantly. So while it's not a requirement for the lot count now, it's still a planning issue that we should confirm. So confirmation that nothing has changed from 4 years ago would be important.
There were wetlands on there, they were flagged, I expected those wetlands, so again, they need to be confirmed that the flags are still there, so that's something that will need to be done, because the flags were done a while back, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
So,
And that approval is expired, so we're starting over on this, so redesignate lead agency, and we're gonna go back through seeker again.
Paul, when is this project gonna get off the ground?
It got to the point back in 2020 where we were just going around in circles. We were trying to get, in order to get health department approval, the mechanism is that you need to have the New York Transportation Corporation formed, a legal entity, which owns, in essence, the septic system. Because the New York State DEC issues a speedies permit to that Transportation Corporation. And once that speedies permit, and the speedies permit has to deal with how many gallons of sewage you can put into, in essence, your septic system. If you go over 1,000 gallons, a speedies permit for a commercial project, or, and this type of project is required. So the permit had to be, the Transportation Corporation had to be formed, had to be in existence for New York State DEC to issue a speedies permit. Putnam County Health Department can't issue a permit, an approval, until a speedies permit exists. The town doesn't want to issue the approval, at the time, didn't want to issue the approval for a Transportation Corporation to be formed until Health Department granted an approval. So we went around in circles, and it got to the point where it's like they're coming in every 6 months to renew an approval, and the only thing that's happening is 6 months are passing, and we're not getting to a resolution. And it's expensive, and it was a difficult time at, COVID era, and so the approval lapsed. I know you got tired of seeing me coming back every 6 months for that time period in between then and now. But finally, I was able to work something out with the health department where they, in essence, can approve it, because their approval is two-staged. It's granting an approval and then actually signing off on a construction permit. So there's two different steps to the county's health department approval process. So we got through that. They issued their approval letter so that now the town can issue the approval so that a Transportation Corporation can get formed. And once the Transportation Corporation gets formed, then I can move forward. Town council wants our preliminary approval reinstated, get back to where we have our preliminary approval, so that the town board is comfortable with granting the ability to allow an entity to be created. So that's finally come to fruition, and so now we're back to the planning board with the same set of plans with no changes, and trying to move forward to close this thing out so they can build.
And now it's to the point we treat it as a new application, correct?
Yeah, it expires, and it's unfortunately, we'll start from scratch. Start from scratch.
So in that case, if we have to redo it because it expired, they have to go through every single step, or is anything from the last application still
So
valid?
that's why we asked to confirm the environmental constraints issues. Presumably, if everything is the same, this can move through promptly, but we have to confirm that.
So then we'll need a motion to designate ourselves as a lead agency.
I'll make a motion to designate the town planning board as lead agency on this project.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then Pat, you'll prepare a resolution? And then you'll prepare a resolution?
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
good luck with it. Next on the agenda, Centennial Golf, 185 John Simpson Road, amended site plan. Is there any reason why we can't do 5 and 6 together? Both Centennial Golf, they're both amended. So, let's put the two amended site plans together and leave the lot line separate.
I would review it all together. If you were making decisions tonight with respect to this, you should
Unfortunately
separate
not.
them, but this is just a getting you reacquainted with the project you saw over a
Okay.
year ago.
I think it makes sense to put them together. There's gonna be a lot of overlap, as you know. Mike, comments, please?
Yeah, decision time, it's gonna be important that you do the lot line adjustment first,
Okay.
so that this way the lot exists as submitted. So that's gonna actually be done a little before, because they have to get it filed and everything first, so that's important that they do that first, so that's
Good point.
one of the triggers. Anyway, the parking is now outside of our town.
Yeah, I
The
saw that.
Board of Appeals may allow that, but they have to go to Board of Appeals for that. And I recommend that we come up with a mechanism that ties the two together. Are you in front of Southeast at the same time for a site plan approval for putting a parking lot in Southeast? These are questions that have to be answered. You want me to do the other ones too, or just the golf course one?
I think you could do them all now,
All right,
and
I got
just speed
separate
things up
memos,
for
so
yourself and for the
Need a second.
board.
Then for the townhomes, provide floor plans and elevations. How do you calculate parking? Guest parking has always been an issue with multifamily developments. We ask usually that they add a little bit of extra for guest parking. 2 spots is never enough. Will there be central garbage, central mail? County Highway Department and Carmel Fire Department should comment on the new driveway coming out to Fair Street. In addition, the fire department something. I cut something off there, sorry. Project needs to be referred to ECB for comments. Provide recreation calculation table. You have the recreation on, I think it was page 3, but I'd like to see it in table form so we could see what you're exactly talking about. Variances required from the zoning board for side yard and building spacing. 100-foot side yards required and 50-foot building spacing is required. They don't have either.
Mike, what was cut off on your copy was the County Highway Department and the Carmel Fire Department should comment on the new driveways coming out to Fair Street in addition to the fire department.
In addition to fire department, something I
Yeah.
was saying, and I
Yeah,
guess
that's
I...
all I got it.
Oh,
Rich?
I think it was that the fire department should comment on the location of, if you're putting any hydrants out there, make sure that they know where they're gonna be in the right spots. I had one more, actually. You want me to keep going, or stop?
Yeah, keep going, let's get, yeah.
Sorry. And that was the lot line. Submission was very confusing. The plat's labeled draft, and it says on the cover page there were no changes, but apparently there were, so I don't know if something got confused in the letter or what, but just clarify what that is, and provide a zoning table for clarification. They're taking pieces of lots, giving pieces of lots. It gets a little confusing with the areas, so maybe if they put it on the table, it'll be a little bit easier.
Okay. Rich, I know you have some comments also.
So on the lot line adjustment, excuse me, applicant has submitted 4 packages for the planning board to review. Lot line adjustment, amended site plan for the golf course, amended site plan for Centennial Townhomes, and a seeker environmental assessment for Centennial Golf Club. Applicant should note that each of these submittals should be standalone documents, or standalone submittals, which contains the necessary and appropriate backup documentation. So as Mike mentioned, it was a little confusing. I didn't know, looking at the lot line, if I should be looking at the secret document, if there was any kind of roadmap to get us through to what was changed, because the applicant indicated no changes to the site plans drawings have been made since the prior submittal. Therefore, my comments on the lot line adjustment haven't changed. So the cover letter said no changes, so my comments haven't changed. One thing I did add was the need for a variance as identified on the drawing, but again, as Mike mentioned, the variance is for the various lot sizes. It should be tabularized, so we know what that is, a proposed 20% increase. And then the drawing should be ultimately signed and sealed by a professional engineer. That one is not. This one is for the golf club. Again, 4 applications. Applicant indicated no changes, therefore previous comments, previous comments holds true. Drawing provides a majority of the work being performed in the town of Southeast and only a portion in the town of Carmel. So again, Mike touched on that. How do we address that? Is one approval next to the other? We need to just do that, but referrals, what I've changed only is that permits and referrals are required to the town of Southeast. And then for the townhomes, so in this case, it was signed and sealed. The one for the prior one wasn't signed and sealed. This one was signed and sealed. There were only minor changes to the site plan drawings made since the prior submittal. It is unclear as to which drawing these changes have been made and to which comments below that I have provided have been addressed by the applicant. If the applicant did make changes, then a summary letter indicating what, if any, changes have been made should be provided, addressing each comment provided by the town's consultant. So again, as Mike mentioned, a little confusing to figure out what was done where and how and why.
And Pat?
So they were before you in April of '22. That was the last time they were before the board. As you know, Mr. Chairman, there were some infrastructural issues that were bogging down the application. They spent a good deal of time trying to address those issues with staff. You now have an amended plan that has presumably satisfied that issue. So what was a water line impediment, if you remember this issue, the applicant has a resolution to that, and that's what's reflected on these plans today. But as both Mike and Rich said, it's been a while, and there have been adjustments and modifications, relatively minor, but a road, Rich, I think, used the phrase roadmap. It would be helpful if we had a clear summary of what's changed and what hasn't changed. The applicant did a very good job of submitting documentation to support their seeker position. I think the applicant's trying very hard not to go through the environmental impact statement process, and they've submitted effectively an environmental impact statement and did a good job of documenting with a new EAF and a Part 2 EAF indicating what impacts would occur. The one thing that we've asked from the beginning and hasn't been submitted yet is we went through an environmental impact statement for the club originally, and there were findings. Those findings set thresholds. So what is the delta between those thresholds and the current plan? And we can find that in that 4-inch binder somewhere.
I saw the binders.
But it ain't easy. So again, if you can simplify that and tell us where those changes are, if there are any, if anything's exceeded or not, it would be helpful. Ultimately, it's not the 3 of us that are going to make this decision. It's the 7 folks that did not review that binder that are going to make that decision. So the short message is they're here to reacquaint you with this, and if you would do them a favor in simplifying and summarizing the changes and where they are on this, that would make it a lot easier for the planning board.
Thanks, Pat. I was thinking the same thing when I know how involved this project is. We've gone through doing a nice job of it. I'd almost like to see, I don't know whether you call it a red line copy or before and after or whatever, like we did for the master plan. The master plan that this board reviewed line item by line item, as Mike and Pat know, is 300 and, I don't know, plus over 300 typewritten pages. And we've asked for the same thing. What was then, what is now, so you can see the delta and the changes. I think that'd be very helpful to this project. As you give us an overview now, would you explain how we got out of the stalemate with the water line loop? Because I know that was a big infrastructure issue 2+ years ago. Or so. Let me just turn it over to you first for
introductions.
Yeah, introductions and overview.
All right. My name is Chris Laporta with Paeprer Associates. I'm here with Larry Boudreau with Centennial Golf Properties, and also here Montserrat Rios with Paeprer and David with Centennial, David Leibowitz with Centennial. Happy to be here. It's been a while, and I totally understand that there's a lot to wrap your head around because there's been some changes, but it could be difficult to identify. I think we tried to, at the 11th hour, split our letter into 3 letters explaining the changes to each application. The short of it is the lot line revision and the parking application in the town of Southeast. There's been essentially no change to. The major changes have been to the site plan, which I could walk everybody through right now. We've spent the last couple years dealing with the infrastructure issues. We've also met with a lot of other players, the DEP, the DEC, the folks at Weston and Sampson and Inframark to get this all situated properly so that we could move the application forward. And we thought it was appropriate now to come in here and just give a quick update on where we stand today. Last time we were here, I think one of the most significant changes, we did make a submission, but we didn't appear in front of the board until we figured out the whole water line issue. But we had made a submission that, again, we didn't appear, but we had removed the houses on Fair Street. So I think last time we presented here, we had, am I able to bring this with me? We had 12 townhome units here along Fair Street, and it was kind of problematic. We were creating 2 additional curb cuts and clearing trees, and we had proximity to wetlands. There was a lot of reasons, and we understood that it probably wasn't worth pushing forward. So we reconfigured our site plan here and kept the entire envelope here. The roads are still in the same place as they've always been. We did make slight modifications to the footprints. Previously, we had some buildings that were 6 units long. For consistency, we have all the same 4-unit buildings here. With the exception, I think 1 or 2 of them might have a walkout basement due to the grade, but they're generally the same shape and footprint, 3 bedrooms per unit. They each have a garage and a parking space.
Did you say 3 bedrooms per unit?
Yes.
Thank you.
I think that's right, Larry?
Yeah, and there's some master down.
There's another microphone.
Some masters down, some masters up.
Yep. So we are seeking a few variances, and we thought that it was worth it to take this approach because they seem like reasonable requests that are consistent with the community of the neighborhood. The lot line to the 100-foot setback is internal, so Centennial and Toll are the applicants here, and the separation is to the clubhouse building. So that's in our own control here. We're not really impacting anybody else. The spacing between buildings, it seems reasonable to us, and we are familiar with some other projects that have obtained 20-foot variances for spacing between buildings. And then the other ones are kind of technicalities. The one is the tricky one with the parking lot, which is in the town of Southeast. So we did present the project to Southeast, and the meeting went well. I don't think there was any opposition to our application, but we really, since Carmel is the lead agency here, we just really need to get through seeker and move forward before they'll make any action. So they're just kind of on standby for now till we get a little further along.
On this project, what will be on the town of Southeast?
The
Just
parking lot, because the current parking lot is actually right here where the development is.
So that's the variance, right?
The golf course parking lot,
The golf course parking lot.
not the townhome parking lot.
It'll be on the other side of the other side of the cart barn, I believe, is right.
Yes.
Yeah, it's right here, shows it on this plan here.
Will you find that there's a problem with people driving through this development to get to the golf course?
It's going to be a shared driveway here.
The other
There's an
side.
easement.
Off of Fair Street?
Oh, off of Fair Street. This is an emergency only. We did actually have a meeting with the fire department and talked about the gate and the dry hydrants and a number of issues. We basically, we agreed to add another dry hydrant and leave the existing one, but they're going to come test it. So if they're unhappy with it, we agreed that we'll replace it. And we looked at the fire hydrant spacing among a few other issues. I think one of them, we took a look at our grading behind the units. One of the concerns was, what if we need to get ladders to the back of the units? So we made sure that we left a level pad so that they could plant a ladder on the back of the units. So we had a good couple meetings with the fire department, and we'll continue to check in as we move forward here.
Did you mention that emergency exit or entrance is going to be gated?
Yes, we're proposing a gate here. And we did put a turnaround here for service vehicles. This was one of the things we talked about early on, if there's delivery trucks and whatnot that come in there and they need some place to turn around.
Yeah, this plan shows the town line right here. So southeast here, Carmel here. This parking exists right here, and it gets moved to here.
So the golf course parking is moving.
Yes.
Yes.
Is that like where Lakes starts?
Meadows.
Meadows and
Yeah.
Lake, it's in between,
By the gazebo?
Use the microphone.
Lakes and 9 Meadows.
Right, there's only, the first hole on Lakes is a par 5, it gets changed to a par 4. Other than that, no change to the golf course.
So, Chris, all those summaries with the fire department is gonna have to just kind of be part of whatever you're submitting as part of the record for us too, for the board.
Okay.
And just mechanically, because it's a multi-jurisdictional approval, your site plan approval, should you get there, would be conditioned on Southeast. Presumably Southeast will condition their site plan approval on you. Who goes first doesn't really matter, but as lead agency, probably you should. But it's mutually connected through joint conditions.
And then the COs at the end will be based on getting the parking lot completed before it closes everything out. You have to have parking.
Sure, yep.
Yep.
And how many units are there?
60 in total. I believe we were at 63 when we had the units over here. We reduced the unit footprints a little and consolidated on this part of the site. Oh, and one other change that we've made since we've tightened up our footprint a little, we removed the clubhouse and we are proposing a much smaller bathhouse by the pool. So we revised the amenity area a little bit.
And that was reflected in your recreation tabulation on the plan?
Yes.
Okay. That's what I was saying. If you show us a table, then we can figure it out a lot easier, just instead of giving us an overall number.
Okay.
So you went from a clubhouse to a bathhouse, if you will, but you still have access to the infrastructure that Centennial has. They have the big clubhouse there and where they have events.
It's open to the public.
Oh, okay, yeah. Good.
Are any of the units age restricted?
No.
These are not.
No. Market rate.
And what's the traffic impact going to be?
We did do a traffic impact study, and it was, I think we studied like 8 intersections, and we didn't have any significant impacts in traffic. So that report has been provided in the giant book, which we'll write a really nice executive summary for that will lay out like a roadmap.
Yeah, like a before and after, so we can just, that would be very
Executive
helpful.
summary would be perfect.
So how'd you resolve, or did you resolve the water loop? That was
So we had a few meetings with Rich, Pat, and Weston and Sampson, and probably a number of other people too, where we iterated a bunch of design ideas. You know, we were able to come up with a solution that provides a partial loop, which will, you know, immensely improve the existing condition. And there's, you know, to get the rest of the loop is getting pretty far off of our site, so we outlined a solution that would give a contribution to the water district in addition to constructing our piece of the loop. And there's a few options we laid out. You know, one of them requires an easement, the other doesn't. So we just wanted to cover all of our bases for seeker. It's outlined in a note right on the title sheet of our townhomes site plan. So,
Rich, you're satisfied with it?
Yeah, we've talked about this and it was amenable to the town.
Great, thanks.
So the only thing they're doing now is they're going through the sewer study right now. They just installed flow monitoring or flow meters, a bunch of manholes on Tuesday, right? Yeah, 2 days ago, yesterday.
Yep.
And so I think we're gonna have that running for a month unless there's no rain. Then we're gonna hopefully see if there's a little rain, it'll run a little longer. But again, that can run concurrently with what we're doing right now in this process, right? So They provided a sewer report, it's been reviewed by a third party, JRFA. They provided comments back, and that's why some flow monitoring had to be done, just to assess potential surging in the system, especially with the addition of these 60 units, so. And a new pump station, right, so there's a whole bunch of things going on. They have a pump station there, but they're gonna have a bigger pump station now, right? And that bigger pump station is gonna be able to take care of the existing conditions and the future conditions. So that's kind of where that's at, but it's in process, so it's not like that's been stagnant in the background, so.
Any comments from the board?
The traffic is kind of a concern. I know you said there's not gonna be an impact, but 60 units, that could be 120 more cars, right?
So Vicki, we may ask our traffic consultant to take a look at that.
Yeah.
The major change of eliminating that second curb cut on Fair Street, big improvement. So
Yeah.
they moved in the right direction, but they have a very detailed traffic study. We should
Yeah.
have it reviewed.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that intersection right there, Simpson Road and Fair Street, can get a little clogged just the way it is now. So that's what I'm concerned about, more 120 cars coming that way.
Understood.
Yeah.
I'll ask, does this lay out strategically well if in 5 years from now, during another golf downturn, you decide, as you originally came forward to sell off 9 holes and construct other units? Are you thinking strategically enough to help yourself? Should it go in that direction someday?
Yes, I think so. I think this is sorry. I think so, yes. This is a positive direction for us, and
You wouldn't want to do anything here that shoots yourself in the foot. if
right, right.
10, 20 years from now.
Yeah. Golf course still remains 27 holes, and we're building value by moving the parking lot into southeast where there's no water and sewer, capturing the water and sewer on Carmel, and that helps out a lot.
You gotta use the microphone.
Also, presumably, you know, the audience for our customers for our homes are going to be someone golfers. So it's also building in, right, a built-in customer for the golf, for the food and beverage, for all the operation. So that also further insulates us if there is a downturn coming in the future.
For members on the board that weren't involved in this early on, this is a 27-hole golf course. Originally, they came forward to sell off 9 holes and do the 10. Then now it's back to the 27. That's why I asked the question.
So we're just happy to be back now that we've worked out a few of the issues, and we're going to continue to work on them. But our hope is that through all the studies and the new plan that we're putting forward, we could continue moving the process. We do have a long road with the DEP. I mean, one of the things I didn't mention, we are, doing bioretentions, which go to a stormwater wetland, and it's a, big complex stormwater system, which, we went that direction because we had pre-application meetings with them. But, the number one thing we need to do is get through seeker. So we've been trying hard to address all the environmental impacts. My understanding is we'd need to have a public hearing to get to that step. So we just wanted to reintroduce the project. We could work on any comments that anyone on the board or anybody has, and we're hoping to get in front of the public soon at an upcoming meeting and carry forward through the process.
I think, as was mentioned, we can refresh the environmental aspects of this project, including the traffic studies, and then kind of summarize what was and what is today, what you're proposing. That would be beneficial.
I also think as we head to that direction, do you have at this point elevations, details, architectural views?
We can get you the elevations. If we don't have them already, they could be provided very quickly.
We can get them to you.
Because I'd like to see that before we go to public hearing, because the public's going to want to see that as well.
If we go to public hearing, you only have 45 days to decide on the application, so.
I think we're premature for the public hearing personally.
Oh, absolutely.
But, this is the stuff that, I think when you come back, we'd like to see what you're proposing as far as from an architectural deal.
So we are the architectural review, that's part of our responsibility. I'm not sure if you're aware of that, so that's why, you know, what he was saying is we really need to look at that.
The renderings.
Yeah.
We'll get them submitted.
So,
And we still have to declare ourselves lead agents.
right, so you have to declare yourself lead agency. There's no public hearing for seeker. I don't know if you got that or
Until-
not. So the public hearing happens, so it has been done, right? So, all right, so your lead agency, now you have to review seeker. Once seeker is done, they can go to some of the other regulatory agencies and start gaining their approvals, right? And move forward towards getting toward that public hearing once they move these plans to a point. Because who knows, right? They've already addressed some of the issues with DEP. That's great, but DEP may come back and who knows? Mary Galasso may come out of retirement and make things a lot of fun for you, you know? So who knows? So.
Is the public hearing after seeker?
So the board has an option on how to do that.
Okay.
If you clarify that the thresholds that were previously established are not being substantially exceeded by what you're doing now, they can conclude seeker first.
Okay.
And then have the public hearing on the townhome project and the site plan after that. If the consequences, the environmental consequences are significant, we'd probably do them simultaneously.
Okay.
But it's really, you gotta help us make that decision by giving us a clear path on what we're looking at.
Okay.
Okay.
You need to use, yeah.
Just the Pat, or the board, so just because we were in the impression we're doing secret first, then site plan after. So if we're coming back, you want to see more of a complete site plan application, what else are you looking for? I mean, I don't know where we are with landscaping. I mean, how detailed?
We're still on track, seeker first, site plan
Right.
second. Unless something is squirrely that we haven't identified yet, which I don't think is the case, but you gave us this much stuff to review a couple weeks
So
ago.
our next submission, when we come back, should have a little more site plan detail as well, though.
Site plan, so you're hearing tonight that the board is looking at this generally favorably, so there's no reason why you couldn't advance the site plan. You're not gonna have the site planning board say, no, turn it around or change it.
As Anthony mentioned, we can't really schedule a public hearing until we're comfortable, and then they're gonna wanna see what the buildings, what the townhomes are gonna look like, what color they're gonna be, what materials they're gonna wanna be,
Yeah,
so.
you have to remember, this
Bill
board
is
is also
contractor.
the
We wanna have
architectural.
that study and our study done.
Okay.
Rightfully so, you know, so, with a little bit of work yet to go.
Great, I just want to thank, first of all, I mean, even though I've been here in 2 years, we all worked very hard. I think, you know, Mike, Pat, and Rich, I mean, it's really been, you know, we started off our part, and we've really, on the water line, have really bridged the gap, and I think it's been a tremendous effort for everybody, so I just want to thank everyone for their contribution.
Well, let's move it forward.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a nice evening.
You too.
Okay, Rose distributed the minutes of April 24th, May 9th, and May 22nd.
Mr. Chairman, I reviewed all three sets of minutes, no comments on the May 22nd, on the April 24 and May 9th minutes. I did provide some comments. I propose approving the minutes subject to those comments.
Second,
Second, subject to for the night.
all in favor?
Aye. Hey, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.